Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. It's game day. The regular season, it is finally here. The NBA is kicking things off tonight with 76ers versus Celtics and Warriors versus Lakers. Can't wait. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. As always, Keith, you said it to me before we went on air. You said you were like a little kid on Christmas. You woke up early, couldn't go back to sleep. This is like, it's like Christmas morning for us here.
It really is. I woke up at 5:30 and immediately my mind started racing thinking about basketball. And then I was like, all right, I should go back to bed for a little bit. Didn't happen. I got up and immediately just started working. I'm beyond excited. I can't wait. Now I need to find a way to work a nap in at some point. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to make it to the end of Warriors Lakers. But it won't be the first time I've missed third or fourth quarter while falling asleep in the recliner or on the couch. So it is what it is here on the East Coast. Those late games are a little rough, but I'm super excited, man. It's opening day, kind of, right? Because it's opening day for four teams. So
Right.
Our two teams are playing, so we're obviously super.
That's
psyched,
all that matters.
But, the big opening day is tomorrow, which is always a fun day too. That's like the League Pass opening day, right? When you're flipping around League Pass and everything.
Speaking of which, for any, I've been reminding people of this on my Substack, which you guys can go check out, trevorlane.substack.com. Cheap plug there, but League Pass way cheaper this year than ever before. It's like 60% cheaper. So if you've ever wanted to watch all the basketball, I know we've talked about it, but if you ever want to watch all the basketball, now is your chance. Great opportunity to get League Pass without having to spend a fortune to get it. So I highly recommend that you guys check it out. And then you can watch basketball guilt-free. You don't have to be that person that's, stealing illegal streams or anything like that.
Truth. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about viruses and everything else
Correct.
that tend to come along with those shady streams from other parts unknown, right? Isn't that the wrestling term?
Parts unknown. I love it.
Yeah, that's where those come out of. But yeah, so today we're just gonna kind of whip through some stuff. Got a couple pieces of news that broke after we finished recording yesterday. Then we're gonna get into some injury conversation, just guys who are out to at least start the regular season, and then at the end of the show, if you stick around, we're gonna give you our predictions for a couple of individual awards and those kind of things going into the year.
That's right. That's right. Everybody, make sure you are subscribing to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, subscribe over on Apple Podcasts. Would love to get some more reviews in there as well. If you wouldn't mind, toss us a 5-star rating and then a review. Just write us a little message about what you like about the show, maybe what you don't like about the show. If there's something that you'd like to see added to the show, I guess I shouldn't say don't like, but if you see something that you want added to the show, put that in there in the review over on Apple Podcasts. We would certainly appreciate that. But let's kick things off. Keith, you mentioned it. There was a bit of news. We went through all the rookie extensions in yesterday's show, and it looked like we even mentioned it. DeAndre Hunter was not going to be among the players who got an extension. And then like 2 hours after the buzzer, it comes out that he actually did agree to an extension with the Atlanta Hawks, 4-year deal, $95 million, as I recall off the top of my head. What are we thinking about this extension? Personally, I think it's just fine for a wing player of his caliber.
Man, all I do know is that was the longest time from the ball released out of the hands to the clock hitting 000 that I've ever seen.
Right.
If that was a buzzer beater extension, I don't know about all that. But yeah, so sometimes this does happen. Sometimes things get done, and then somebody's like, "Oh yeah, hey, we did finish this off." And
by the way,
clearly that's what happened here. Yeah, that's a lot of money for a guy who hasn't stayed healthy and at times has been very uneven in his play. And I say that with full recognition of the cap is going up and all the things that we say kind of ad nauseum on the program here. I don't know. I don't think it's bad by any means. I just think, 20, let's call it 24-ish million in that range. That it just feels like a lot of money for DeAndre Hunter, all things considered. I'm a little worried this one might go sideways on the Hawks.
Okay, so you're a little bit concerned. I'm mostly okay with it when I look at this deal, but I'm fairly high on him and his potential. And I probably am downplaying the injury issue a bit there. But when I look at this, I think about what he could be over the life of that contract, and I think he's got real upside here, particularly as a defensive wing. So I'm okay with it. But apparently the Hawks were fine with this deal for DeAndre Hunter and came to terms on an agreement. Would you rather them have not come to terms on an agreement and just head into the season with this kind of stuff up in the air? Or would you, like, if you're the Hawks, what's better, going that route or doing this deal?
No, for sure. And that's a great way to put it is what's for the Hawks, because they obviously know DeAndre Hunter far better than we do. And if they thought like, hey, if this is hanging over him all year, it's not going to go well. It's going to go really poorly and he's not going to play well and he's going to be in his head and all these other things. Then sure, get it done. I guess for me is I don't was he going to play so great that there was going to be a lot more money waiting for him as a free agent? That's a deep team where a lot of guys need shots, a lot of guys need touches, whether it's, Young and now DeJounte Murray and John Collins and Bogdan Bogdanovic when he eventually gets back. And you want to make sure Clint Capella is involved and those kind of things. I just don't know that he was going to have a breakout that was going to cause you to go to, 30 million a year. I don't think that was going to happen. So, you probably could have waited, because if he had a poor year, an injury filled year, maybe you get him in restricted free agency for 17, 18 million a year instead of going up into the 23, 24 range. But, it sounds like there is some incentives in there and those kind of things. All around, it's fine. I'm not going to, beat on this one too bad just because, with where the cap's going, I think it's fine. I do find it interesting that Grant Williams' value now, to me, he did not get an extension. He talked at length today with the media at shoot around before their first game about why he didn't. And basically, in a lot of words, he said, we just couldn't agree. But he did also say, as a VP of the Players Union, I find it very important that I don't take undervalued deals, that I make sure, I'm doing what's right, because what I do represents the league as a whole. And I want to make sure I take care of everybody. I think now we're really saying his value is going to lie somewhere between this Hunter extension and Brandon Clark. My guess is the Celtics were far closer to Brandon Clark, and Williams probably wanted, I don't know if it's quite as much as Hunter got, but probably just below that. And that's, where it comes in, a little bit of a challenge. And I fully will recognize too, that where a player was drafted does impact these things at times, even if maybe it shouldn't. But DeAndre Hunter's going to be 25 this year. That's, I don't know how much more development there is to come. And then I look at like what Keldon Johnson got, who was drafted far later, but Keldon Johnson only got, 74 million over 4 years. So I like Keldon Johnson better than all of those guys. And I think the Spurs got him on, in the end, that's going to end up, the max deals are different, right? Zion, Darius Garland, it's a whole different thing. But for guys who signed non-max, it's hard to imagine anybody is going to get a better value than what the San Antonio Spurs got for Keldon Johnson on his.
That's a good point. That's a good point. In the context of that Spurs deal for Keldon Johnson, I think I do like that. I think I like Keldon Johnson just in a vacuum better than DeAndre Hunter as well.
Yep.
And to get him on that price tag, that's either a really good deal or DeAndre Hunter is a bad deal. I think it's probably, I mean, I guess both could be true, but I think it's probably the former, where the Spurs just got a steal, and then DeAndre Hunter, we'll see how he ultimately shakes out. I think you do have a point, though. You could be buying closer to his ceiling here. But I also think that the bit about Grant Williams not getting his deal, and part of that being that he didn't want to set a low market for his peers, I think that's something that's important. We've heard LeBron talk about this in the past as well, about essentially if you take a below market value is perceived to be deal, and you are then setting the stage for other players around the NBA to do the same thing, particularly if you're someone like LeBron with that kind of standing. But even Grant Williams can do that, where other teams will say, well, look, this guy got this much, so therefore this is your value. We do see that effect take place around the NBA. So
without a doubt. Yeah, every team uses this guy took less to their advantage, and every team's going to be using this guy got more from the agent side to their advantage. So, it's how the game is played. But yeah, I don't want it to come off that I hate this extension by any means, because it's not that. I think it'll end up ultimately being fine. Just for a team that's getting increasingly expensive, it just felt a little weird that they locked in now, but it'll probably be fine. I certainly hope it ends up being great. Right. I hope he is fully healthy this year, really plays well. And he did show signs last year. I think he did tick up to, he's at 38% from three. So there are signs that he's starting to figure things out a little bit more. But, if your goal is 3-and-D player, 20 plus million a year, that's, I don't know. It's all going to be reframed anyway in the next couple of years of what these guys are worth. So we'll figure that out as we go. But right now, feels just a little bit rich.
I also think in the context of the Andrew Wiggins deal, like Andrew Wiggins, 14 million over the life of the contract. I'd say, Andrew Wiggins is probably more than 14 million over the life of the contract, better than
how crazy is that?
Right?
That like we were on Wiggins' max extension. Everybody's like, oh no, what happened? His rookie scale max. And remember, there was a point where that deal's untradeable, and we all know deal's untradeable.
He fit. He found a way to fit.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, you find your home, and I think that's part of why too. Where so many people, why did he take less? Well, he found his place, right, and he feels really good there, and he's gonna kind of be the guy. Plus, Kevin Pelton was the first one I saw that pointed this out of ESPN. So he'll be 32 at the end of it, so he can, very easily you can see him getting another, good size deal if he wants. Plus, I mean, at some point there is to some extent, like how much do you need? You've already made hundreds of millions. How many more hundreds of millions do you need? Says the guy who will never make 100 million, but that's all good.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about some injuries. We got your big man Robert Williams got a PRP injection. What's the prognosis there for him, and how soon could he be back for the Celtics?
Yeah, I talked to someone with the team today, and they said no change in the timetable that they gave, which is essentially right around the first of the year. It was an 8 to 12 week initial timetable for Robert Williams. He had the surgery in the tail end of September. So a lot of people were thinking, all right, well, that's Thanksgiving or Christmas. But I think the reality is the Celtics they're going to take it slower with him this time around. They'll still be in the regular season. I think they feel like we don't need to get him back on the floor because it's playoff games. And I thought the reporting around this was a little weird. And I fully recognize nobody from that new web show, I don't know what to call that new FanDuel show, wrote the tweet, but the tweet sent people into a panic because the tweet that came out today was, Shams is saying he'll be, maybe back in the second half of the year. And Shams himself in the thing basically said, they're still thinking, around the, first of the year, sometime December, January. So it just, it's one of those things where watch the videos if they're there, read the actual full quotes if they're available to you, because that'll help you out. Because I had a lot of panicked messages on my timeline this morning of like, wait, Rob might not be back. Like, no, he will be. Like we all know he's gonna be back. So because
second half of the year for NBA, that means post All-Star break. That's usually what we think of. So then
think through it,
then you're talking like end of February, maybe into March, and that's very different than December, January, obviously.
Yeah, I think they were thinking calendar. More second half of like second 41 games, and that is first of the year-ish in that range. But yeah, I do think Boston is going to be very careful with him. I don't know that we can count 8 weeks, I think, is out because that would be Thanksgiving. That's roughly a month from now, a little over a month from now. I don't even think 12 weeks is real. I think it's probably going to be more in like the 13, 14 range because I think they're really going to take their time, make sure he feels really, really good. We might even get one of those. He's been practicing for 3 weeks before he actually returns, just because I think that's where this is headed is let's be really sure on this because he's obviously a wildly important player to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of important players, another big Jaren Jackson Jr. making progress, heading towards playing 5-on-5. I don't think that means we're going to see him back anytime soon, but still, this is good news that he is making progress. Incredibly talented young player, big piece to the Grizzlies. They'll have Brandon Clark filling in the meantime, and we'll see what he can do there. But Jaren Jackson Jr. getting closer to playing 5-on-5, which is good news.
Yeah, huge for them. And he recently said in a media availability that he was ahead of schedule and he felt like he'd be back sooner than what people said. And then the team was kind of like, whoa, like let's settle down here, like because I think people were like, wait,
you create expectations.
Yeah, exactly. You want to kind of calm people down. But yeah, I think I think now we're thinking maybe in that Thanksgiving or a little later range for Jaren Jackson Jr. It's huge. I'll also say this with the Grizzlies: keep an eye on Santi Aldama. Aldama, a late first round pick a couple years ago. They really like him. He's going to play a lot while Jackson is out, and he may have a chance to lock down a kind of permanent rotation role. They really like him. He was great in summer league. He was really that second year player that showed up to summer league and very quickly was like, all right, this guy's probably doesn't really need to be here. That's how good he looked.
Okay, well, somebody certainly to keep an eye on. We do have a plethora of injury updates to bounce around from. So rather than go player by player here, let's do them in bulk. Injury updates around the league.
Yeah, so one of the cool things that the league did now was they kind of put this roster thing out. And one of the things is it's a little clunky because then people think that there is an injured list. There isn't in the NBA. There's just the inactive list. Guys are just made inactive by game. But here's who's out to start the regular season at least. We know Danilo Gallinari probably out for the year. Robert Williams out. Obviously, initially we talked a lot about him. For the Brooklyn Nets, Seth Curry and Joe Harris are both out. Two very important players for the Nets. Both are still recovering from off-season surgeries. Harris has had some foot soreness after his ankle surgery, so it sounds like it's in a different part, but maybe related. And then Curry, after his ankle surgery, is coming back, is still not back. And then TJ Warren, too. They basically kind of said he's on the shelf. And I'm going to go back to, remember in the offseason how much we were like, why is nobody signing TJ Warren? Like, what is going on? And then I had gotten some intel where it was like teams were worried that he wasn't going to be ready. And all we're hearing is sometime, I want to say, Steve Nash said we'll reevaluate in November. So that says, that he's not ready. But Harris and Curry are big misses for the Nets to start off the year for sure. Especially, if you're going to be playing Simmons and Claxton, you need shooting around those guys. For the Toronto Raptors, Otto Porter Jr. Will miss the start of the year. He's been dealing with a hamstring issue. We know Lonzo Ball is out for the Bulls. We don't have any kind of return time for him. Ricky Rubio on the shelf for the Cavs. We knew this going in. He's going to be out for a little while with as he recovers from the torn ACL. As we keep moving down the list, the Milwaukee Bucks. The big one is Chris Middleton. News broke yesterday that he's going to be out for a few weeks. So we don't really have a full firm timeline. This is not the knee injury. This is a wrist surgery he had in the offseason that he's recovering from. He had the knee injury against the Bulls in the playoffs and then missed the rest of the playoffs. This is from a wrist surgery that he had in the offseason. So we'll see. With him, Joe Ingles obviously recovering from the torn ACL. They're expecting him first of the year-ish is when he may play. And then Pat Connaughton, a key rotation guy, is going to be out for a little while. He's got a sore calf that he has. So thoughts on that one? The Bucks they're pretty thin on the wing to open the year.
Yeah, without Middleton and Connaughton, those are some big losses for them. Again, this is the long game for them. So I'm sure they're not going to rush these guys back or anything like that. But that is going to be tough. And then the Nets as well, losing Curry, and losing Joe Harris again, like you said, the shooting is really, really important to have around Ben Simmons, to have around Claxton. Those are some big losses, even though those aren't like the big names associated with that franchise.
Yeah, for teams that especially expect to be title contenders, that's big. And I think there's enough good teams this year. You don't want to fall too far behind early. As you're chasing. Keep moving on. Atlanta, Bogdan Bogdanovic out to start the year. He's recovering from off-season knee surgery. Sounds like maybe in the next few weeks we'll see him. LaMelo Ball from Charlotte. We talked about this one already pretty in depth, but just a reminder, he's been shut down with a grade 2 ankle sprain, so we won't see him for a little while. Orlando is dealing with Markelle Fultz. He's got a broken toe. He's probably going to be back first of all their guys. Gary Harris had a knee surgery. Sounds like he's not too far away. And then Jonathan Isaac, we don't really know. We just know he's not playing yet. They kind of left it as we'll see. With Jonathan Isaac, at some point, he's just working on rebuilding his strength. There's been a lot of videos of all three of those guys doing stuff. So we'll see. But sometimes those videos can be a little, you get excited and then it doesn't come to fruition. And then the last
guys look a little different in workouts against a chair than they do in actual real NBA action where you suddenly have to react and cut and all that kind of stuff.
Did you just work in an Ejian Leon?
That's right. I did. That's right.
Well done.
You know it,
man. Chairman Yee. With that. Yeah. It's in Washington, last team in the East, Corey Kispert is out to start the year. I know people think this probably isn't a big deal, but it kind of is. He was one of the better shooters on that roster. He was going to get minutes because of that. He's just, again, second year guy, young guys missing time early. On the Magic, though, good news: Jalen Suggs is going to be back and he's going to play opening night after that preseason injury. So we feel pretty good about where that is. Flipping over to the West, Davis Bertans is out early for Dallas. He's working through some knee soreness. That's the only real one there. We already talked about Jaren Jackson Jr., Danny Green. Obviously, he's still on the roster. They think he's going to get back at some point. That was a very late ACL tear for him. It happened in the playoffs. So he's going to have to make it back in under a year to have an impact. But Danny Green is also, I don't think he's thinking the long game anymore in his career. I think it's probably more of, if I can get back and help this team in the next year, in this season in a playoff run, let's get that done.
Right. Yeah. That's about, he doesn't have a whole lot of a lifespan here left in the NBA anyway. So if you've got a chance to get back on the floor, then I think he's going to do that.
Yep. Flipping to New Orleans, Kira Lewis Jr. recovering from his own torn ACL. He's going to be out for a while. Jackson Hayes has a torn ligament in his elbow. Same injury Paul George had last year. So he's on the shelf for probably at least another week or two. There. Good news on the injury front in San Antonio. Both Keldon Johnson and Josh Primo made it back from their preseason injuries. So they'll both be available to play opening night. In Denver, it sounds like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. will be ready to go, despite some limitations in the preseason, but it sounds like they're both going to be on the floor to open the preseason. Minnesota, Karl-Anthony Towns is back. He played. He's healthy. He's ready to go after kind of a scary illness early in the year. Continuing with the good news in Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back will be available opening night. We weren't sure that was going to happen for him coming off an injury. In Portland, Gary Payton II is going to be out to start the year. He had the same injury and surgery that Damian Lillard had, so he is going to be out for at least a little bit to open the year. In Utah, it seems like they're fully healthy now, with the exception of Udoka Azubuike. It sounds like he's going to be out at least to start the year. Warriors, they're just dealing with a couple bumps and bruises. Andre Iguodala and Patrick Baldwin Jr. No, I was not trying to be funny on that one there, but those two are just, it sounds like they're more questionable side for opening night. Clippers coming in fully healthy, ready to go with their full thing. And then I'll let you run through the Lakers ones, because I know there's a couple we got there.
Did you see the quote by Steve Kerr that he's not going to have his guys play more than 30 minutes because they're not in shape?
Yeah, I did see that.
I saw that. I was like, wow, that's an interesting place to start the season from. But the Warriors, they're worried about the long game and everything. So I get that part, but just not normally something you hear about a coach coming into the first game of the season. Well, we're not in shape, so I'm not even going to play our guys all that much.
Something to keep an eye on with them, the Wizards, the Hawks, and the Bucks. They all made those long preseason trips to the Warriors and Wizards to Japan, and then the Bucks and Hawks to Abu Dhabi. Just something to keep an eye on if they are a little slow out of the gate. Sometimes there's a real hangover sometimes from those trips, even though they did them very early in the preseason. By the time we roll around, it's really only going to have been about 2-3 weeks since then. So just something to keep an eye on. But go ahead and hit us with the Lakers injury updates.
Sure. So right now, Lakers fans are losing their minds. I put out a tweet that said that listed LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, all listed as probable by the Lakers, and people are beside themselves. We tend to be a very rational bunch. I promise. Not usually, but people are very, very upset at this. Look, Russell Westbrook had a hamstring issue in the final preseason game, so he's going to be listed as that's going to be on the injury report. Anthony Davis has been dealing with some lower back tightness. That's going to be on the injury report. They're playing. We already know Russ is playing. We've seen Anthony Davis. The Lakers put out footage of him dunking in their last practice in a scrimmage session. They're not going to put him in a scrimmage session if he's not going to play in the game.
Correct.
They're playing. You don't need to panic. LeBron is on the injury report with a sore foot. He was on the injury report basically all year last year. The Lakers just put him on the injury report every single time, and it always worries people. He always plays. I haven't gotten clarification as far as why they put him on there every single time, but I really think it's just so it makes it that much easier to load manage him, just to be able to say, oh yeah, see, he's been dealing with whatever for a while. So I'm not worried about those three guys. Dennis Schroeder out, did have ligament surgery on his thumb, and so he's out, reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks. Then you've got the surprise from yesterday was Thomas Bryant, who has a sprained thumb. He is out for the game against the Warriors. We did not know about that one. Don't know when it happened. It's just like, hey, surprise, this happened, and now he's out. And then Troy Brown Jr. has been dealing with a back issue, didn't participate in training camp. So we've known for a couple weeks that he was not going to play opening night, but he is making progress and sounds like he's getting closer to a return.
I think those last two are maybe a little bit more important than I think some people may fully realize. Bryant is one of only two true centers on the roster, right? With him and Damian Jones. I know AD. That was what prompted me to be like, I don't really like the stuff I'm hearing out of the Lakers, because I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, fine, I'll play center if I have to, but I really don't want to. Which again, no surprise, right? We've known this for going back to when he was with the Pelicans, he didn't want to play the 5. My thought was going into the year, I think in most matchups, they would have liked to have gone something like a 20-28 split with 20 for Jones, 20 for Bryant, and AD plays 8 minutes, maybe last 4 minutes of each half or something at the 5. If Bryant's out, you got to get those minutes at the 5 somewhere. Maybe Wenyen Gabriel gets some run or something that wasn't necessarily planned. And then the Brown one, I think, is just interesting because he's the only guard wing with real size that they have right now on the roster. So I thought, that was a little interesting, at least there, but hey, maybe it opens a few minutes for my guy, Matt Ryan, to get on the floor and knock down some shots.
It very well could. I also think we're going to see more minutes for Juan Toscano Anderson as a result, but he's making progress. So it sounds like a return's not too far off for Troy Brown Jr., but they're just not ready to put him out there just yet.
Yeah, I think Toscano Anderson may see some of those backup 5 minutes too. Just kind of go do your thing, run around and play with a good energy. Maybe where it is. And, with the Warriors, I guess
going to be
not, right? I was going to say, they do have Wiseman now coming in.
Wiseman. Yep, they've got Looney and Wiseman.
It's a little bit different than it was in the last couple of years, where they were masquerading different guys at the 5 out there, and you could get away with playing a smaller guy. That will be kind of fun to watch later tonight. All right, finishing out the injuries. Not an injury, but Jay Crowder not with the Suns, not playing with the Suns. Other than that, they are pretty healthy. Dario Saric back, and we'll play for them. And then with the Kings, we'll see. We don't have definitive word, but Keegan Murray was dealing with some health and safety protocol stuff at the end of last week and to open this week. So we'll see if he's ready to go or not. But everybody else good to go in Sacramento. So mixing good news and bad news to open the year. But it's let's knock on wood now and hope everybody gets at least through the next little bit healthy, and we're able to see these teams as we envisioned on the floor together.
That's true. Yeah, let's hope that they finally switched off the injuries for this NBA season. Last thing we've got.
Yeah, not a fun story.
It just doesn't stop with the Hornets this year. I feel for them. Yeah. James Bouknight charged with a DUI. If you read any of the details on it, doesn't sound like a great situation. You're already dealing with the Miles Bridges situation. You're already dealing with losing LaMelo Ball. Now they've got this. I'm not going to say this is the straw that breaks the camel's back and the Hornets just say, that's it, we're tanking, and makes these big moves or something. But we talked about this the other day. They could be a team to watch to make some kind of early on, some kind of a move to offload talent and do what they can to bottom out while LaMelo Ball is out and they're dealing with these other issues.
Yeah. And on their good news front, Gordon Hayward looks like he's going to be ready to go after missing time in the preseason.
His hair is not.
No, God, did you
see that?
What a disaster that is. Yeah, that's an absolute mess. But yeah, on the Bouknight situation, he has a little bit of a history now too, going back to college. He had some troubles too. So that's something to keep an eye on there. Teams I think are trying to be a little less tolerant, I guess, at times, and draw a little bit more of a hard line with some of the stuff. For what it's worth, he practiced yesterday. He was not made available to the media, but then Steve Clifford basically said, I'm not going to comment because it's all still ongoing. We'll we'll let you know when we let you know, which is the right approach for the coach. It's probably not really his place to be the one out there. So often these coaches end up being the organizational mouthpiece because they're the ones talking to the media every single day. And that's not always the right place for them to be. So not great, and for him too, man, dude, get it together because you have a real opportunity to play and play a lot, especially while LaMelo Ball is out. There's minutes available in Charlotte, and you're kind of, maybe putting yourself in a bad spot here to blow an opportunity when you weren't all that good as a rookie, and you need to get on the floor and really show people some stuff. So hopefully you can get things figured out and turn things around and get it headed back in a good direction.
Absolutely. Hope so. All right. I think that about does it for today. I'm going to go start mentally preparing for all the basketball that we're going to watch this evening. But we made it. We made it through the off season. We made it through preseason. The regular season is here. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. And just going forward, future, obviously we'll be news notes focused. Any transactions will be super focused on those, as we always are. But we'll just be talking ball with you guys. Going forward, we'll get our recording schedule hammered out. It's going to be a little bit weird because I have my entire family and extended family coming to visit. Great timing on this trip here to Central Florida. And if you live in Central Florida, there's tends to be a reason people come here to visit, and it tends to keep you a little busy and running around. So, but we'll figure it out. We'll get our shows in and all that good stuff, and have a lot of fun, man. I think this has the potential to be an absolutely outstanding season just because there's so much parity in the league. I think it's going to be a really fun night tonight to watch.
It's going to be a blast.
We didn't do our picks.
Oh, I totally forgot.
Yeah. All right. Who's your MVP?
My MVP. So I've been wanting to lean towards Luka. I think I even officially picked him somewhere. I've done a bunch of these rankings, but
right.
I think I picked him somewhere. I think I picked Giannis somewhere as well. I put on my Substack though. I put down my sleeper here, Zion Williamson, as my sleeper for MVP. I've got the Pelicans making a big push up the West, and if so, they're going to get some buzz. And if Zion can stay healthy, he can put up the stats requisite to make an MVP push. So I know that's not really an answer. If I had to bet, if I had to put money on it, I'm going to go back to Giannis Antetokounmpo and go with him. But I kind of feel like Zion, if this is the season that he finally stays healthy, he's going to get his name in that conversation.
Yeah, I went back and forth, and I said Giannis, Jokic, Joel Embiid. I think they've been arguably the three best guys the last few years in the league. And I look at it and I say, are the Bucks going to play Giannis enough? And
that's true.
And they're not going to play him 40 minutes in a game in Orlando on a Tuesday in January, right? It's just not going to happen. Jokic, I worry. We know voter fatigue is a real thing. It does creep in. That leans me towards maybe Embiid, but I worry, what if Embiid has one of those years where he only plays 60 games? Is that going to be enough?
He's got the narrative of just missing last year, right? Like that's part of this.
Yeah. If I had faith he would play 70 games, I think I would pick Joel Embiid, and I'd feel really good about it. But because I don't have that faith, I picked the Celtics to win it off. They're going to be that as good a team as I think they can be. Jason Tatum's going to make that leap this year. And it might be a homer pick, and it's fine. I'm going to stand by it. I think he also is going to get some carryover from the playoffs, where one of the stories that came out of the postseason for the Celtics was, man, Jason Tatum's really good on defense. Now, if you watch all the time, you know this, right? We knew this as Celtics fans. It was one of probably the best parts of his game coming in as a rookie. But what he did last year in the postseason really made, I think, a lot of people take notice. If he can nudge those assists up over 5 a game, get up around 8, 9 rebounds, I think he's probably going to be up in the high 20s, maybe even tick over 30 in scoring. I think he's got a chance. And I think we're going to see Giannis not play enough, voter fatigue on Jokic, Embiid might miss some time. And then I think that opens the door for somebody else. My other pick, though, would be Luka. I just think he has a chance, but I think Dallas might finish a little too low.
That's the problem.
In the standings. Yeah, That's my worry there. All right, who's your rookie of the year?
So let me just throw in on the Tatum thing. I also think from this perspective, he caught a lot of flack in the finals. And so in terms of who's going to be the most motivated during the season,
Yep,
I think that's going to provide a nice
I think
chip
so.
on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a thing too. And then you said what, rookie of the year?
Rookie of the year. Let's
Yeah,
go
so
there
I'm
now.
going. It's boring, but because he was the number one pick, but I'm going Paulo Banchero. I
Yeah,
think
me too.
there's arguments you can make for other guys. I like Keegan Murray a lot and everything, but I look at just the opportunity that Paulo's going to have. It's going to be tremendous, and I think he's going to prove why he was the number one pick, even with that epic all time great swerve that the Orlando Magic pulled. I think he's going to get it, even if it is kind of chalked because he was the top pick.
Yeah, I think a lot of times rookie of the year comes down to stats, who puts up the best stats. I think Banchero will. I will say this: if the Kings can break through and get into the playoffs, and Keegan Murray, if they do that, Keegan Murray is going to be a big part of it. He will also then likely put up very good stats. So I may go with Keegan Murray as my dark horse, and that's not even really fair because it's not really a dark horse. But he's my like backup if all that happens, then I think he will win. But I'm picking Banchero as well. No slight to Jabari Smith, Jaden Ivey, handful of other guys. I think they're all going to be great. I think this rookie class is going to be fantastic. I just think Banchero's he's gonna play a big role. He's gonna do a whole lot. He's gonna pile up a bunch of stats, and ultimately that tends to be what wins Rookie of the Year.
Let me ask you this: if Chet Holmgren was healthy, would Banchero still be your pick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I'd probably put Chet third just because I think there's a lot of other guys who are going to do a lot on that OKC team too. I think he was the right pick for them. I think he's going to be very, very good. But Shea's going to have the ball a lot. Giddy's going to have the ball a lot. They've got a lot of guys who I was going to say who shoot which is what they do. They just don't make a lot, but they do shoot a lot. So that's going to happen there as well. So yeah, I think I would have had him behind Banchero and Murray still, just situationally.
I just wonder, he does so many things. We saw it in Summer League when he was playing. He did so many things that are highlight worthy that will pop and show up on ESPN and places
It's
like that.
true.
That yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder if that would have been a factor in his
Yeah, he does have
legacy.
more of a highlight built game than
Right.
those other two guys. But yeah, I just I mean Banchero and Murray were kind of my two favorite guys throughout the draft process leading up to. I thought everybody kind of landed where they should have team wise. I thought everybody went to the right teams and the best fits for them. I give me those two guys right now.
Fair enough.
All
Fair enough.
right,
I'm right there
that's it.
with you. We both picked Banchero. So I think that about does it for today. Again, make sure you are subscribing right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, give us that 5-star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.